It's that time of year again. The September Strata Challenge is coming up in just a few days, so I want to take the time to make a video that revisits daily painting, why it's so helpful, and how you can make the most of a daily painting challenge like this one. I'm sure many of you have already seen my video from earlier this year reflecting on the January Strata Challenge and everything I learned from it. But I'll link that below in case you'd like to check it out or watch it again. That video was focused on what I learned from the challenge this past winter, and now I want to talk about how you can use the September challenge to work toward your painting goals. And for the time lapse, I'm going to share a daily painting of a cardinal that was done in one sitting, which is perfect for a daily painting challenge. This one is going to be a female cardinal, but you can see her mate in the canvas next to her. When I was little, I once heard my aunt refer to a female as a lady cardinal, and I always thought that was really charming. So this is how I think of this little bird that I'm painting, as a lady cardinal. And if you want to see the time lapse of her mate, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for next week's video. All right, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. To kick off, I should probably give you a bit of background on the Strata challenge itself. This challenge is designed to get painters working from life every day for 1 month. The upcoming challenge kicks off September 1st and asks that painters work on a painting or drawing from life every day in September and share them to either Facebook or Instagram and include a tag for the challenge so that they can track who has successfully drawn or painted every day. One important note for the Strata Challenge is that it does ask that you complete all of your paintings from life. So unlike this cardinal painting, you won't want to work from a photograph for this challenge, but that I think is a really fantastic thing. So not only is it building up those daily painting muscles and getting you in a painting rhythm and potentially helping you to break out of some block or procrastination that I know can affect a lot of us. It also is doing a really great job of encouraging you to paint from life, which for me, I think it's instrumental in getting paintings to loosen up. I've seen that for myself. I've seen it for students. And I think there are just so many benefits from painting from life. It can be a little bit more challenging at first, but there is something about the quality of paintings that's done from life where it has this degree of realism that seems to go beyond what photography can do for us when we're using that as a reference. I'll include the link to the official challenge website below so that you can check out the specifics, but for now, I want to talk more about what a challenge like this one can do for you and how you set yourself up to have a great month of painting. The first suggestion that I want to kick off with is to set yourself up for success through knowing your goals. One of the biggest advantages of a challenge like this is that it forces you to iterate, which means that you can often see progress much more easily than you could if you were painting more slowly or intermittently. But that only helps when we know what we're really working toward. Having a clear vision of where you want to take your work is one of the easiest ways to identify exactly where to focus your time and attention, which is why it's one of the first things I do with artists who work with me. Personally, I find the most helpful way to get clear on goals is to really dig into and understand your influences as a painter. The paintings you most want to have influencing your work, the paintings you most want to feel connected to, the paintings you are inexplicably drawn to. It can be a time-consuming process to really drill down to the core paintings on this list, and there's a lot that I can say about it, and I do just that in my masterclass. I talk about exactly how I figured out my influences for myself and talk about how you can do that as well. I would highly suggest that you give this exercise a go as well before you start a daily painting challenge, as it can give you a ton of ideas as far as what to paint and show you what you will most enjoy focusing on in that time. I've linked that masterclass below, so definitely check that out after you watch through the video, because that's going to walk you through exactly how I do this exercise and how you can do it too. All right, so let's say that you do this exercise on really drilling down to your key influences as an artist, and you realize through doing that exercise that you want your paintings to be looser than you're currently painting. And you want to include some palette knife work, and you want to capture really dynamic, engaging light in your paintings. Suddenly, we can use that to gear every one of our daily paintings around this objective. Rather than just setting out to get a painting done, we can ask ourselves, how can I paint this in fewer brushstrokes than I would normally? Or where would some palette knife work be appropriate? Or how can I set up my still life in a way similar to the way my favorite painters do it, so that I can have a similar sense of lighting in my piece? These are exactly the kind of really tangible, constructive questions that we want to be asking ourselves when we sit down to paint, especially if we're looking to improve. And the great news, if any of those goals that I mentioned sound familiar, is that they're a really great fit for daily painting. Oftentimes, the task of trying to complete a painting in one sitting, painting from life, keeping it small, all of those things help us to loosen up tremendously. And when the painting feels looser or more evocative, it can be easier to experiment with other mark-making tools as well, such as the palette knife. But it isn't just limited to those goals. Knowing what kinds of paintings you want to emulate can set you up to really try and study those paintings and figure out how you can connect with those elements of composition in your own work, and not just have your influences be something theoretical, but to really enable your viewers to see that influence shining through in the paintings that you make. So perhaps you love still life paintings that have strong light and shadow, or antique looking objects, or those objects are all at eye level to create some drama, or the objects weave through the composition like a sinus rhythm, or they all have a very clear color scheme. This is a fantastic opportunity to give yourself the space to explore those trends and try to figure out how your favorite artists composed their pieces. It's not just as simple as looking at a painting and analyzing it. Going through the actual physical motions that the artist who inspires you went through and figuring out how to apply that process to your own work can be invaluable. I liken it to learning a piece of choreography. If you've ever done dance or anything dance adjacent, it's not enough to watch a dancer move through the steps. There's something about actually physically walking through and marking those steps and then starting to really perform those steps that gives you the feeling of what the experience of dancing that choreography is like in your body. And I think that painting is really similar. We often don't give enough credit to the fact that this is a physical task, and there's something about connecting to that physical process that I think lets our minds engage even more clearly and deliberately with the work that we're doing. And I'm curious to hear what your goals would be. So let me know in the comments below what you would love to accomplish in a daily painting challenge. Or you can share what characteristics of your favorite paintings you would love to see in your own paintings. Okay, the next thing I really want to emphasize to set yourself up for success is to not give yourself any more work than you really need. Painting every day, especially if you have other work on your plate, is a lot. The last thing you want to be doing is trying to complete a 3x4 foot painting every day. So first, I would say, do not worry about finishing a painting every day. That's actually one of the rules of the Strata Challenge. You do not have to have a new painting every day. You just have to have painted every day. And second, I would encourage you to paint small and pick simple subjects. One of the biggest challenges for me in the previous Strata Challenge was that I wanted to maximize the number of finished pieces that I could add to my portfolio or my social media feed or my website. So even though I didn't need to complete a new painting every day, I did make that my goal, and it made the challenge far more exhausting than it needed to be. In a perfect world, I would have set myself up to paint for no more than an hour or so per day, which would mean painting single subjects without a lot of intricate detail or complex compositions, and choosing a small panel to fit the painting into to further dissuade me from getting bogged down in detail and giving myself permission to just stop when I was tired and simply come back to that same painting the next day rather than feeling the pressure to create a finished work. Oftentimes you can learn just as much from a painting when you wipe than when you try to take the painting all the way to perfection. So I really just wish I had given myself permission to do that. Because I didn't though, I was super tired at the end of the January challenge, and I honestly needed a break from painting, which probably isn't what you want to get out of a challenge like this. So please learn from my mistake and do what you can to keep this feeling easy and fun and to keep your energy up too. All right, so with this in hand, what else can we do to make things easier on ourselves? I would say plan ahead as much as you can. So going into the challenge, make a list of plein air locations that you would love to visit, along with the time of day that gives you the best light to work from. This can be a great way to mix it up if you get tired of painting still life, or you simply need to get out of the studio for a day. I'd also suggest setting up still life compositions the night before your next painting session when you can, so that there's nothing standing in your way of starting your next painting session. And you can even grab a mirror and set it up behind your easel and do a self-portrait study, or you could ask a friend to sit for you if you really need to mix things up. I find it can be really helpful going into the challenge with a full list of composition ideas, just in case you're feeling stuck one day. So don't be afraid to add these ideas to like a master list that you have just for yourself that you can refer to throughout the month. All right, the next two suggestions I have are around how to keep the challenge sustainable, especially as you near the end of the challenge. So first I'll say, please don't let yourself paint all night, especially in the name of getting a painting finished. It may seem fun in the first week, but after 30 days, you are asking for burnout if you're doing this. So if you've painted for more than a couple of hours and you feel yourself getting tired or making careless choices on your painting, give yourself permission to divide that painting into an extra day. It'll not only make that day easier, but it will likely set you up to have a very easy, enjoyable second day of painting as well. And next, as you near the end of the challenge and you're wondering what you should paint, consider looking through the paintings you've already completed and asking yourself if any of those pieces could use any finishing touches. I don't recommend reworking a painting just for the sake of it, but if you see something that is glaring and obvious and you know how to fix it, that could be an easy way to check off another day's painting. And if you want to know how I go about deciding if a painting is done, I have a video that you'll want to check out, and I'll link that above and in the description below as well. And this brings me to my final suggestion, which is to let people buy your work. Little paintings are often the easiest to sell when you're first getting started in your art career, but you need to let people know that they are for sale. If you want to hear more about how I do that, I'll include a link to my video on how to start selling your work, in addition to the videos that I've already talked about. And if you want to enter the next Strata challenge, the one that's coming up in just a couple days, make sure to check out the link in the description below to their website and get your sign up in before September 1st. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like and leave a comment, even if it's just that you hope I have a nice day, because that always makes me smile and it helps others find this video as well. And if you haven't already, I hope you'll subscribe and hit the bell icon so you know whenever new videos come out. All right, until next time, happy painting.